I want you to think about something for a second. If a tornado wiped out a Chinese military base, it would be on every channel for a week, every network, every cable news show, every morning program, wall-to-wall coverage, analysis of what it means for military readiness, satellite imagery, Pentagon responses. Now let me tell you what actually happened when an EF4 tornado crossed directly over one of America's most critical military installations on April 23, 2026. One day of coverage, maybe two, then silence. And I need you to understand what was actually lost in that silence. Because the story that got buried underneath the next weather event, the next political headline, the next thing the algorithm decided you needed to see, that story has layers to it that nobody has connected for you. And I am going to connect them right now. Let me start with the base itself. Because I think when most people heard the words Vance Air Force Base, they pictured a small regional facility somewhere in rural Oklahoma. A quiet installation, something that could absorb a hit and carry on. That is not what Vance is. Vance Air Force Base in Enid, Oklahoma is the fourth busiest airfield in the entire United States Air Force. Not the fourth busiest in Oklahoma. Not the fourth busiest in the region. The fourth busiest in the country. It is one of a handful of installations that produces the next generation of Air Force combat pilots. Undergraduate pilot training, the pipeline that turns student aviators into the people flying the aircraft that protect this country. It has been running that pipeline without interruption since 1941, through World War II, through Korea, through Vietnam, through every conflict and crisis this country has faced in 85 years. Until the night of April 23, 2026, that night, a tornado with winds between 170 and 175 miles per hour crossed that base. And for the first time in 85 years, Vance shut down, closed until further notice. Those are the words the base used. Closed until further notice. That phrase does not mean a brief pause. That phrase means the base does not know yet when it will be able to operate normally again. And that is where the national media left the story. One day, and before the damage assessment was even complete, before the full picture of what the tornado did to the infrastructure was understood, they left, and nobody connected what this actually means. So let me do that. Here is what was on the ground when that tornado crossed Vance. Trainer aircraft. T-6A Texan IIs. T-38 Talons. Aircraft that represent not just monetary value, which is substantial, but irreplaceable training infrastructure. These are not planes sitting in a museum. These are active training tools in a pipeline that does not have slack in it. When student pilots cannot fly, they do not graduate on schedule. When they do not graduate on schedule, the downstream pipeline backs up. Instructor assignments shift. Their bases have to absorb the overflow. And the Air Force is already under pressure on pilot training capacity. This is not a secret. It has been reported on for years. Pilot shortfall. Training bottlenecks. A pipeline that is already being asked to produce more with fewer resources. And then an EF4 sits on top of the fourth busiest Air Force airfield for 37 minutes. And the media moved on before asking what any of that means. Now let me take you back to the moment it happened, because the sequence of events on the evening of April 23rd tells a story that should not be forgotten. At 8:11 p.m. Central Time, the tornado develops southwest of the base. Not miles away. Southwest of the base. The NWS in Norman is watching the radar return. The rotation signature is not ambiguous. It is large, it is organized, and it is moving northeast. At 8:22 p.m., the National Weather Service issues a tornado emergency. I have talked about tornado emergencies before, but I want to be precise about what this alert means because precision matters here. The NWS does not issue tornado emergencies for every tornado. They do not issue them for every warned storm. They issue them when all of the following are true at the same time. A large tornado is confirmed on the ground. The tornado is violent or expected to be violent. It is moving toward a populated area or critical infrastructure. And the threat to human life is not theoretical. It is immediate, or wall. 4 of those conditions were present at 8:22 p.m. on April 23rd. And the tornado. Emergency confirmed the large and destructive tornado was located near Vance Air Force Base between 8:11 and 8:48 p.m. That tornado never lifted. 37 continuous minutes on the ground. A 9.5-mile path carved through northern Oklahoma. A damaged swath 500 yards wide at its maximum. And when it was finally done, the first light of April 24th revealed what 170 miles per hour winds leave behind. Here's the number that I keep coming back to. It's the last time Garfield County, Oklahoma, saw a tornado of this violence was April 26, 1991, 35 years ago. A full generation. Think about everyone living in Enid right now who was not alive in 1991. Think about everyone who moved to that city in the last decade, the last 2 decades. Think about everyone who has lived their entire adult life in Garfield County without ever experiencing an EF4 for all of those people. April 23, 2026 was not a reminder of something they had been through before. It was the first time, and it arrived at night. It's at 8:22 p.m., when families were home, when kids were finishing homework, when people were winding down. Not at 2 in the afternoon when schools can shelter in place and workplaces have emergency protocols running. At night, and the stories that came out of Enid the morning after tell you everything about what those minutes felt like. Amy Kuntz was in her car driving home when the storm hit. She called her daughter. She told her to get in the bathtub. Her daughter ran to the bathroom and got in. Less than 60 seconds later, her daughter told her the roof was gone. 60 seconds. That is not a dramatic exaggeration. That is the documented account of a mother and daughter separated by a storm that moved at the speed of a violent supercell. 60 seconds between shelter and catastrophe. Rayanne Hunt made it to her cellar with her husband, her brother-in-law, and a neighbor. 4 adults in a concrete box, 8 feet by 8 feet, in the dark, listening to the roaring, listening to metal impact the door, listening to glass shatter somewhere above them. And when they came back up, the windows of their brick home were gone. The roof had taken heavy damage, the brick home. Not a trailer, not a wood frame structure, a brick home. That is what 170 miles per hour does to solid masonry construction. Dave Lamberton came out on the morning of the 24th to help salvage what was left of his son's woodworking shop. He stood in front of a pile of splintered beams, twisted metal, and scattered machinery. And he said they had things on the property they could not even find. Not damaged things, gone things. Somewhere in a debris field that stretched downwind across roads and neighboring properties, an entire shop, an entire business. And somewhere out in the dark, pieces of it that may never be found. This is what EF4 looks like the morning after. This is what 37 minutes on the ground leaves behind. Now let me give you the full scope of what happened that night beyond Enid. Because the EF4 was the headliner. But it was not performing alone. NWS survey teams from multiple offices deployed on April 24th to assess damage from 6 potential tornado touchdowns in the Enid and Bremen areas of north-central Oklahoma. 6 in one corridor, in one night. Across the broader outbreak that stretched from Oklahoma through Kansas to Iowa and Missouri, there were more than 20 confirmed tornado reports. Over 140 reports of large hail and damaging wind. A 4-inch hailstone was documented near Marion, Kansas. A 3.75-inch hailstone was measured at Bremen, Oklahoma. And in Bremen, something meteorologically rare was captured on camera: satellite tornado. A secondary, smaller tornado rotating around the parent tornado like a moon orbiting a planet. These are not common. When you see a satellite tornado, it tells you something about the parent storm's intensity. It tells you the parent vortex is so powerful and so organized that it is generating its own subsidiary circulation. Dr. Reed Timmer, one of the most experienced extreme weather meteorologists in the country, was on the ground in Bremen that night. And the conditions became intense enough that he had to take shelter in a ditch. A professional storm chaser with decades of experience in the most dangerous weather environments on Earth dove into a roadside ditch to survive what was happening in Bremen, Oklahoma. And still, one day of national coverage, then nothing. Now, let me tell you about what the tornado did to the base in more specific terms. Because the official statements from Vance were carefully worded. And carefully worded official statements sometimes tell you more by what they do not say than by what they do. The base confirmed fences down. The base confirmed industrial equipment knocked over. The base confirmed power disruption. The base confirmed water disruption. A weather station physically located on the base recorded a gust of 107 miles per hour at the perimeter. 107 miles per hour at the fence line. Inside the tornado's damaged core, the winds were not 107, they were 170. The base confirmed visible damage to the southeast side of the installation, including broken fencing and industrial equipment. And then the base confirmed something that received almost no follow-up attention. Base leadership was still conducting damage assessments across the installation. It's working to ensure the safety and integrity of facilities and infrastructure. That is official language. And what that official language means in plain terms is that as of the morning of April 24th, the base did not yet have a complete picture of what the tornado had done to its own facilities. Stars and Stripes, the independent military news organization, specifically noted that officials had not reported what type of damage the base sustained beyond the confirmed external indicators. An Air Force installation that is the fourth busiest airfield in the country, conducting ongoing damage assessments, no public timeline for resuming operations, and the mainstream media had already moved to the next story. I want to be clear about what I am not saying. I'm not saying there was a cover-up. I'm not saying the Air Force is hiding something sinister. I am saying that the national media's attention span for a story like this is calibrated to the initial drama. Tornado hits. Nobody dies. Story ends. But the story does not end when the tornado lifts. The story continues through the damage assessment, through the recovery timeline, through the ripple effects on the training pipeline, through what it means for readiness when one of your most critical pilot production facilities is offline for an unknown period. None of that received sustained coverage. None of that was followed up on. And that gap is exactly what I am here to fill. Now let me connect this to the larger picture. Because what happened in Enid on April 23rd is not an isolated weather event that can be filed away and forgotten. It is part of a sequence, and that sequence is not finished. The atmospheric pattern that produced the EF4 over Vance Air Force Base is evolving. The energy is not exhausted. The storm track is not retreating. It is shifting east, southeast, directly toward the communities in Dixie Alley that have been watching this spring's severe weather from a distance. And here's what makes that shift so dangerous. Oklahoma is battle-tested. Oklahoma has had tornado sirens going off and watches being issued for weeks. Emergency managers in Oklahoma have been in active operations mode all spring. Communities in north-central Oklahoma knew what to do on the night of April 23rd because they had been reminded, repeatedly, all spring long, that this is tornado country and preparation is not optional. That is part of why 0 people died in a 170 miles per hour EF for that crossed a city of 50,000 and a military installation. The preparation infrastructure was there. Now the storm track is moving toward communities that do not have that sustained state of readiness. The Tennessee Valley, Central Alabama, the Mississippi Delta. These are places where a lot of people woke up this week thinking the severe weather story was somebody else's problem. And I need those people to hear this clearly. The atmospheric setup building for the days ahead has been formally flagged by the Storm Prediction Center. NWS offices across the Deep South have issued their own advisories. The severe weather threat targeting Memphis, Nashville, Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, Huntsville, and the full Mid-South corridor is real. It is documented, and it is timed for Monday into Monday night. It's not midday. Not the afternoon. Night. And Tennessee has the highest rate of nighttime tornado deaths in the country, over 73%. 3 out of every 4 tornado deaths in Tennessee happen while people are asleep. The ingredients that made the Enid EF4 survivable, early warnings, prepared shelters, alert residents, those same ingredients need to exist in Nashville and Memphis and Birmingham before Monday night. Not during it, before it. And right now, the window to build those ingredients is open. Right now is when it matters. So here's what I need you to do. If you are anywhere in the Mid-South corridor, Arkansas, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Western Kentucky, this is your list. Complete it before Monday. 1. Find your shelter tonight. Not Monday afternoon. Tonight, while it is still calm. While you have the luxury of thinking clearly. The lowest floor of a site-built structure, an interior room, away from every window, a bathroom, a closet, a hallway. Physically walk to it right now and stand in it. Count the seconds it takes from your bedroom because Amy Kuntz's daughter had 60 seconds. Your margin might be smaller. 2. If you live in a mobile home or manufactured housing, I need you to stop and read this twice. The data on this is not ambiguous. The risk of dying in a mobile home during a violent tornado is 15 to 20 times higher than in a permanent structure. Not slightly higher, 15 to 20 times higher. Find your nearest public shelter. Look it up right now. Put the address in your phone. Know the route. Know how long it takes. Make a plan to be inside that shelter before storms arrive Monday, not scrambling to find it when the warning is already on your screen. 3. Set up alerts that wake you up. A weather app that calls your phone like an incoming call when a tornado warning polygon covers your exact GPS location. Not a banner, not a buzz, a call. Monday night is the danger window. A notification you sleep through is identical to no notification. If it does not wake you up, it does not save you. For charge everything this weekend. Phone, battery pack, weather radio. 2,600 power outages hit Garfield County in a single night when the EF4 came through. The people who still had information after the power went out were the people with charged devices. A dead phone during a nighttime tornado warning is not just inconvenient. It is the difference between shelter and no shelter. 5. Make one phone call today. One person in your life in the threat corridor who you know is not tracking this. A parent, a sibling, a neighbor, an elderly relative who lives alone, anyone in a mobile home, call them. Tell them what happened in Enid. Tell them what is coming. Tell them that Monday night is not a night to be casual about. That phone call takes 5 minutes. It might be the most important 5 minutes you spend this week. Here is what I want you to leave this video knowing. On April 23, 2026, an EF4 tornado was on the ground for 37 minutes. It produced winds of 170 to 175 miles per hour. It was 500 yards wide. It crossed directly over the 4th busiest Air Force airfield in the United States. It forced that base to shut down indefinitely. It flattened homes in a city of 50,000 people. It triggered a gubernatorial disaster declaration. A tornado emergency was issued. When it was all over, 10 people had been injured and 0 had been killed. That 0 happened because the warning system worked and because people in Enid were prepared enough to use it. The national media measured the story by the 0 and decided it was finished. But the atmosphere did not finish. The pattern did not finish. The storm track shifted toward the deep south, and the setup building for this week is real, and it is serious, and it is targeting communities that do not yet have that 0 locked in. That 0 has to be earned. It gets earned right now. In the preparation window that is still open, before Monday night closes it. I will be updating this channel as the forecast sharpens. Stay with me through the weekend. Share this with everyone in the corridor who needs to hear it. Stay safe out there. Mean that.